well as chapters in edited volumes. Her book, Voices and Silences, Narratives of Girmithias and Jahajis from Fiji and the Caribbean, has been co-published by Manohar Publishers and Routledge. Now we'll move towards the paper presentations. Our first presenter is Mansi Sundriya. Why? Still waiting.
And there's Bhuvaneshwari.
She's also.
Yes, ma'am, here, ma'am.
Yeah.
I go with my presentation, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible?
1 second. What's your name?
Am I audible, ma'am? Dr. Bhuvaneshwari Pagiripati.
Okay, Bhuvaneshwari is here. Bhuvaneshwari is here.
Go down to where you can see participants
Yeah.
and just click on that. And you will see that Bhuvaneshwari is there and she wants to speak.
Ma'am, can you hear her voice till there?
I could hear her voice. You will have to tell her that she is audible.
Okay, you're audible. Can you please present your PPT?
And if she could also turn on her video.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
also turn on your video?
So, shall I go ahead? Hello,
Yes.
shall I go, ma'am? Shall I go ahead?
Yes, yes.
Good morning, everyone. Respected chairperson and the organizers of Amity University, a very pleasant good morning to all of you and to all my fellow participants. So my
You're muted.
Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, you need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
yes. It's fine, ma'am. Now audibility is okay, ma'am.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
And you have 5 minutes to present.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, ma'am. Fine, ma'am. So I'd like to begin my paper with the title Revisiting the Memory, Identity and History, a study of Peter Carey's true history of the Kelly gang. So I'd like to make my paper to be started with a quote noted by William Faulkner: "The past is not dead, it is not even past." The prominent quote by William Faulkner forms the epigraph to Peter Carey's true history of the Kelly gang, written in 2000. It is derived from Requiem for a Nun, where Act 1, Scene 3, Gavin Stephens says to his wife while discussing their very personal history. It refers to the way that the past doesn't only confine itself to its past, but can be alive in the present and in the future through consequence, remembrance, reconciliation, resistance, and guilt. This sense of past is very much in evidence in the formation of Australia, which has
attendance. Attendance.
Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, we can't hear you. Are you speaking?
Sir, you're actually muted. Can you unmute yourself and then speak?
Now is it clear?
Yes, it's visible. It's audible.
Ned Kelly explicitly presents the continuous battle that exists between Kelly's family and the police troopers and squatters. It is an indisputable fact that the newspapers and the history books sometimes do not provide the truth of the past events. Ned Kelly distinctly speaks for himself. He scribbles his narrative on errant scraps of paper in a semi-illiterate and short descriptive prose. Julian Barnes praises Carey's narrative power and exact ventriloquism. He further appreciates the novel that, at the very basic of level, does what best literature does. It convinces you what it was exactly like that this is how they lived, and these were their mental and physical parameters. I didn't hear a single false bit. With the title True History of the Kelly Gang, Carey arouses the interest among the readers who longs to know about the true history of the title character. Ned Kelly and his gang, Carey allows Ned to justify his own life by presenting the corruption of the colonial system, unjust penal system, inevitability of several incidents, and poverty by defending the rights of the people, out of which he becomes a lesson honored and remembered beyond his time. He clearly delineates the reasons for the facilitations of the people in their admiration on Ned Kelly as a foremost bushranger. The critic Hermione Lee says that Carey is a, I quote, genuinely
Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, you will have to unmute yourself, please.
Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, you'll have to. She
has a very unstable internet connection. So let's try and give her time at the end. By then we'll see. Should we go to the next speaker? Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, do you have a stable internet connection at your end?
Could you please unmute yourself once?
program now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. In the phrase lies and silences, the word lie, which indicates the heard voice of the colonial history, and silence, which refers to the unheard voice of the colonized Australia, bring out the post-colonial attitude of the writer. After the death of Kelly's father, Ned Kelly has been brought up on
Because this will happen. We'll try and put her just at the end. I think we should.
In the aspect that
Excuse,
the death of the father. Yes, ma'am.
we'll put you at the end of the session. Is that fine? Because there is a lot of network.
Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sajal Suneja is here. Please, Sajal, I think you should take it. Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, you seem to be having some internet connection issues. If you don't mind, can we put you at the end of the session, please?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, can we put you at the end of the session because you're breaking up time and again.
But here network issue will be like this only, ma'am.
It will be like that only. Then if you could just conclude.
Only this much of.
Can I just give you time to conclude then, please?
Yes, ma'am. I unmuted myself, ma'am. I unmuted myself. Shall I go ahead, ma'am?
Actually, can you please stop presenting? We'll
No,
give
just
you.
give us your conclusion.
Okay, can you just give us your conclusion?
Okay, okay, okay. The rebellion of Ned Kelly can be viewed as an iconic rebellion of a selected class and poor Irish Australians. When Ned Kelly makes an attack at Glenrowan, unfortunately, his plan fails and the members of his Kelly gang are caught in the attack. Then, Ned Kelly sends away his gang members and chooses to fight alone, despite being aware of the fact that it would soon become a losing battle. The words of Ian Jones are very relevant in the context of this. In the town of Glenrowan, the Kelly gang is severely attacked by the policemen. The gang members have taken many hostages and made numerous suits of plate steel armor for protection. A violent fight takes place at Glenrowan on 28 June 1880. The three members of gang, Don, Steve, and Joe, have been killed by fire. So Kelly's narrative suddenly stops before the shoot, and a secondary narrator, who is identified as SC, narrates both the story of gunfight and the eventual death of Kelly. Carey attributes hypocrisies to the poison of the empire. He describes the law in the newly established colonies as ostentatious with no higher place than its own elevated opinion. The hardest circumstances, which often make the people fail in their responsibilities, is well depicted by Peter Carey. When Ned Kelly's letter to Mary Hearn, which contains 30 pages, written with addressee unknown, Ned Kelly receives another letter from Mary Hearn, who writes that she is going to leave for San Francisco since she has not heard anything from him. So through the novel of True History of the Kelly Gang, Peter Carey makes an attempt to go through to revisit the Irish history and the settlers and the criminals who have been transported to Australia. And through their memory, he brings out the identity of the transported convicts. And this is how, through individual person, he portrays history, which is quite different from the news records. So this is how I end up my paper, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Can you please mute yourself now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We'll move on with the next presentation. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sajal. I am a research scholar at Amity School of Languages in the English Department. I would like to start this presentation by expressing a deep sense of gratitude towards my mentor, without whose help this paper would have been possible. The title of my paper is Revisiting Wasteland, and I'll carry the journey to Yom in archetypes. To begin, I would like to discuss the larger theme of myth versus reality. As some of you might be familiar, in the modern day, mythology has been converted to nothing but obsolete folklore. According to contemporary scientists like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins, these myths are nothing but primitive fictions which should be abandoned like old age philosophies. Richard Dawkins goes as far as to say that mythology should not be taught in school, especially the scientific schools. Hence the picture of Mr. Dawkins on the right in the guise of Christ himself, signifying the religion of science. My task in this paper has been to refute these hypotheses and re-establish the primacy of mythology. I take my cue from John Vervaeke's lecture series, Awakening from the Meaty Crisis, where he discussed the concept of relevance realization. Relevance realization is a dynamic system where cognitive agents use opposing forces to focus on the most relevant aspects of a situation. The concept of relevance realization comes from evaluating very basic elements of how we think, what it means to be rational, and how we solve problems. John Vervaeke proposes that the function of mythology is to provide a more generalizable models of the universe. Looking at the most important mythologies, we can see the nature and eternal pattern. And this pattern is a testament to the relevance of human cognition and culture. These patterns can be recognized in the form of archetypes. Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, introduced the concept of archetypes. These archetypes are inherent in collective unconscious of all individuals, transcending cultural and temporal boundaries. The collective unconscious, according to Jung, is a kind of universal memory, a supply of experiences and patterns that are shared among all humanity. By understanding these archetypes, the individual can gain deep insight to the human psyche. At the right, you can see an image of all the movies ranging from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings, which are heavily influenced by the Jungian concept of archetypes. Hence, using this as a tool of inquiry and trying to delve into the wasteland. T.S. Eliot Wasteland is a fragmented piece of work reflecting the cultural anxiety and meaning crisis. The poem is a collage of allusion, quotation, echo, pastiche, and imitation. It uses 7 languages, including Sanskrit. When Virginia Woolf first heard T.S. Eliot recite the poem, she made a notation in her diary, quote, "It has great beauty in force of phrase, but what joins it together, I don't know," end quote. Maybe what joins it together is this underlying themes of archetypes. The Fisher King is mentioned several times in the poem. In the section 5-7, for example, the narrator mentioned Fisher King was at the easiest time fishing. This image of Fisher King unable to catch anything is a powerful symbol of spiritual emptiness and stagnation that Eliot saw in modernity. There are archetypes that ranges from the questioner to the fool, the lover to the prostitute, and alas, Tiresias, the hermaphrodite who watches us all. T.S. Eliot utilized these archetypes to explore the fragmented and disillusioned state of reality. In the right side, you can see an AI-generated picture of T.S. Eliot standing in the middle of the wasteland, haunted by all of these archetypes. By drawing upon this rich tapestry of mythological imagery, Eliot was able to create a powerful and evocative narrative. The poem ends with the Shanti, 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 echoing the form of surrender advocated by the Upanishads. To conclude, mythological structures and archetypes are essential components of the human experience, providing a framework through which we can interpret and navigate the complexities of reality. By engaging with these timeless narratives, we are able to connect with the shared human heritage and gain a deeper understanding of our world and the place. Thank you.
So does anyone have a question?
I do actually.
Okay.
You put the picture there.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned it, but you went so fast that I couldn't quite catch it. Where did you get that picture?
The ESLA one, yes, it was AI generated. There's this app.
You did that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just a pointer for you and of course for everyone that when you do this, you give the source.
Right.
Which would be yourself over here.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it easy for us, and nobody then asks you that question. It's right there, and it is a good piece. It's really good. So you kind of spelled out, and that's quite nice. Thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to the next presentation by Mansi Sundrial.
Can you just draw me for some time?
Actually,
That's why I'm present like this.
okay, you want to
I'll change my PPT.
Yeah.
What about the meeting? Close हो गया meeting. आज भी देखेंगे कि आप कौन सा traditional modern. नहीं बंद हो रही है. Wait. It's still presenting over there, I think. Yeah. What? It is recording. ये record हो रहा है क्या?
Yes, ma'am. We are online on Zoom and this is all session is recording.
Yeah, okay, it's getting recorded, but the Zoom meeting is getting recorded.
All technical session are recorded on Zoom.
Good noon, everyone. I'm Mansi Sundrial, a PhD scholar from HNB Garhwal University, Uttarakhand. And my topic of presentation is Tradition and Modernity, Navigating Cultural Identity in a Globalized World in a Strangeness in My Mind. A Strangeness in My Mind is a novel by Orhan Pamuk. He's a Nobel Prize winner 2006. So moving ahead, the objectives of my research are basically there's this Istanbul being a city of diverse inhabitants, complexities of identity that arise due to transforming globalized world, impact of tussle between tradition and modernity on characters of the novel, Turkish society oscillating between two worlds. So I'll analyze all these points ahead on my paper as well. So before starting the paper, I would like to give a brief introduction or note about Istanbul being a city of, it has been Istanbul, a city that every artist, whether a poet or a painter, loves and admires. And there's a reason for it, because it has centuries old past with it. Its journey started from like the Thracian tribe. It came and they got, they started living over there, and the name was like Thracian tribe came over there. After that, it got its name Lygos from them. And then there was this Byzantium Empire, and Istanbul became the, Byzantine Empire. And the Istanbul, earlier it was a capital of Byzantine Empire as a Byzantium. And after that, under Ottoman's rule, it became Istanbul. So in it, it has a century old past, and there have been different major civilization, and it witnessed major shift in empires and civilization that have ruled the world. As we all know that the capital of many prominent civilization has been in flux and oscillation to find its own ideal identity and subsequently adapt to new changes. So with every other empire, the culture changes and everything, the civilization has to go with a lot of changes along with that. So after it became independent, Istanbul became independent in, Turkey became independent in 1923. Like not independent, it became a republic country because it was never a colonized country. So in 1923, when Republic of Turkey was established, the President Ataturk, what he did is, what he along with his other members, what they decided is they made the capital of the Turkey Ankara, and that's what the that's what the basic main thing that started, like which took away the identity of Istanbul, because it always has been the most important and significant from the historical point of view. But now they changed the capital to Ankara, so it was deprived from the identity. The identity crisis started from there itself. So this novel, A Strangeness in My Mind, a little bit of about it. It was published in 2014, and it's a poignant portrayal of the complexities that arise when when traditional values collide with the forces of modernization. And there is a depiction of Turkish society in the novel. There is a struggle and search for new identity among the people. The people who have come to the city, the inhabitants who have arrived over there. So there is this main protagonist, Mevlut, who is a street vendor, and he sells boza. Boza is a traditional Turkish drink, which have a very less amount of alcohol in it. And early in Ottoman's time, when Muslims weren't allowed to have alcohol, or it was considered as a sin for them, so they used it as an alternative. It had a very less amount of alcohol in it, and that's boza. That was a traditional drink coming from the Ottomans' time. So the character Mevlut, he tried different occupations all along his life because he was a migrant. He came from a Anatolian village, and he came to Istanbul in search of good, better life opportunities. So he tried different occupations. He was a yogurt seller before being a boza seller, and after that boza selling, he became a rice and chickpeas seller, and after that he became an ice cream vendor, and a lot of things happened. And there is a rapid industrialization and urbanization led to transforming the city from the traditional to modern society. Should I directly go to conclusion?
No, I think you're doing well, but like you have written about Boza, so don't waste your time in trying
Okay,
to tell us how
okay.
much time you spend in this. Try to.
No, I was just
Because
making. I
this
was
is so good that I want to hear it.
all right. All right.
Because I you allowed me to talk about it.
So basically, there is this main character called Mevlut, who is, but when he arrives in the city is now turning to be a globalized city. So it's there is this, there's a constant resentment also from his side when he has to, change his occupation, because now boza is getting outdated and all those things. So there have been, like, traditional values have been ingrained in him, because when he runs away with his the love of his life, he first thinks of getting married and then going ahead in their relationship. So basically traditions are essential in shaping individual and group identities. So modernity represents a departure from traditional ways of life and emergence of new ideas, values, and social structures. It strongly emphasizes rationality and scientific thinking, rapid industrialization and urbanization, and technical growth.
I request participants to please sum up your findings in 5 minutes, because otherwise it will be too late for all of us.
All right, ma'am. Rapid industrialization and urbanization, there were a lot of changes taking place. There was rapid industrialization and urbanization. There are new old Greek houses were abandoned and they were being demolished, and new high-rise buildings were being built up over there. And even the food, the food also went through a plethora of changes. There were changed eating habits of the people, new westernized culinary was coming over there and everything was changing. I think I'll move to there is this cultural identity that, suffers the most. Impact of global trends on individuals' life, both personally and professionally. Yes. In globalized society, people assimilate and mingle based on their professional culture rather than their traditional cultural roots, because city life only gives people a little time to socialize on a regional basis. So basically, when Mevlut's father died, that's when he realizes that it's like when now they're in city and his family is not going to be there, and the people from his profession are all over there. Modernity has facilitated increased global interconnectedness through trade, technology, and communication. So my conclusion is individuals develop hybrid cultural identities, incorporating elements from multiple cultural backgrounds in a globalized world. There's the identities, they become hybrid when you arrive to a new city and you are oscillating between tradition and modernity. There is this blending of different cultures where diverse communities coexist peacefully and learn from each other. And as Bhava says, the tension and oscillation in this area can be eased by combining or merging two distinct entities. There is the ambivalence of two worlds. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mansi, this was actually quite interesting, and I would have wanted to hear the whole thing.
No, ma'am, no problem.
It is interesting. Have you looked at Orhan Pamuk's Istanbul, the book itself?
A little bit of it, ma'am. I'll be reading it because I have my whole research over Orhan Pamuk only.
Okay, right. So can I also suggest here that if you look at some of the works by Edip Shafak, and particularly if you look at the architects of Venice, because you're talking about buildings in Istanbul.
Yeah.
There Sinan was the greatest architect of their time. He used to make these mosques and the buildings and the aqueducts for which Turkey is so famous.
Okay, ma'am.
Actually, now it's called Turkey.
Yes.
So there the aqueduct system is so good, considering you know that Turkey lies on 3 tectonic plates which are constantly shifting.
Yes, ma'am.
So to ensure that the city does not get flooded or in many ways, they have managed those aqueducts are still valid today.
Okay.
They are better built than the buildings which are coming up today. Your last point that you want to ask, you said that there is a ambivalence, right? What I want to know from you is a hybrid identity good? Because you just left the conclusion as there is a hybrid identity. Now, what are you promoting?
Ma'am, with the changing times, we all are, even if we talk about India, we are all hybrid identities. So it's better to accept both the things. I feel that I'm more in favor of it. It's good to get into that. If you are not able to, you won't be able to hold on to your traditional values, and you can do that along with that, but it's not like that you have to be adamant with them only. There need to be a amalgamation of it. Thank you. Can I? Thank you.
Okay, so we will move forward to our next presentation by Mohammed Bilal and Irmin Khurshid.
Are we doing offline first?
We'll do an offline first. Yes.
A very good afternoon to the respected chair, my fellow presenters and dear attendees. I, Mohammad Bilal,
and Irmin Khurshid
feel obliged to stand before you to present our paper entitled Landscapes of Identity with the subtitle Examining the Radical Geographic History of the Hazara Community in the Kite Run by Khalid Hussaini. I guess we all have read Khalid Hussaini's Kite Runner, as it is one of the best bestseller of America. The paper begins with the epigraph by Michel Foucault. Thou shalt not speak, thou shalt not show thyself. Ultimately, thou shalt not exist, except in darkness and secrecy. Do not appear if you don't want to disappear. Now, talking about the objectives of the paper. This paper undertakes a critical reading of Khalid Hussaini's The Kite Runner to understand and trace the radical geographic history of the Hazara ethnic community. The Hazara ethnic group primarily inhabits the central highlands of Afghanistan. At the heart of this multidisciplinary paper is the character of Hassan from the novel, which serves as a lens to delve into the radical geographic history of the Hazaras. The paper sheds light on their marginalized status and how the lasting impact of socio-political dynamics of the Afghanistan impacts the identity and destiny of the Hazara community. As we all know, ethnicity and history are indispensable part of literature, and inclusion of these components in literature ensure things don't fall apart.
Emerging in the later half of 20th century, radical geography surfaced as a transformative force within geography, serving as a counterpoint to conventional approaches. This intellectual movement was driven by a fervent political social agenda, reshaping the contours of discipline. Jenny Pickrell, in her research, claims, and I quote, radical geography reflects a desire for geographers to do research that is relevant and useful for a society. A quest for social justice permeates much of a radical geography. Radical geographers who are often active participants in social justice campaigns are also committed to building, supporting, and intellectualizing alternatives. Now we will delve into the historiography of Hazara community. The Hazaras are one of the four central ethnic communities in Afghanistan, along with Pashtuns, Tajiks, and Uzbeks. It appears impossible to trace the ethnic history of Hazara community in absence of their own literature. What all we have on the original is from the sparse evidences present from the non-Hazara sources. The original theory was advanced by Frenchman Ferrier, and I quote, Hazaras have inhabited the sea since the time of Alexander the Great, and quotes the Curtius, the Greek historian, as saying, when Alexander the Great passed through the central parts of Afghanistan, he encountered people who were very familiar or similar to the Hazaras that we know of today. According to certain hypotheses, the Hazaras have a direct connection with Mongols. Travelers from Europe and other Western countries have discovered a substantial Mongolian community coexisting with the Kashmirians in Afghanistan at the beginning of 19th century. During this period, the theory of Hazaras bearing Mongol origin had a great success. Most authors use this idea as their main point of reference. Below is one of the theory's most prominent theorist of the time. And
Thank you. Now talking about the radical geographic history of the Hazara community in the novel as quoted by Khalid Hussaini. The novel was published in 2003 and it's regarded as one of the best sellers in America. The novel explores themes of guilt, betrayal, redemption, and the complex familial relations. It sheds light on the impact of political turmoil and conflict on individuals and families. Central to the novel lies the relationship between the Hazaras and the Pashtuns in Afghanistan. The story revolves around the complex relationship between two Afghan boys, Hassan, the Hazara, and Amir, the Pashtun. Diverse ethnicity and the disproportionality which leads to subsequent conflicts serves to be the driving force in the novel. The novel records the political and socio-cultural marginalization and exclusion of the Hazaras in Afghanistan, commenting upon the Hazaras' violent and humiliating suppression, which according to them places at two levels. The storyline at the level of discourse, Nayapur and Varigan argue that, and I quote, the Kite Runner is first of all the linguistic description of the humiliating and uncompromising dominant socio-cultural perspective towards the Hazaras. In other words, it is a novel about the socio-cultural state of an ethnic minority group within an Afghan society controlled by the Pashtun Afghans, unquote. A radical geographic approach to the novel analyzes and entails in evaluating the novel through the prism of non-conventional spatial geography, researching how space, place, and landscape impact the characters, their actions, and unfolding of the events in the plot. Within the novel, geography assumes a pivotal role in the marginalization of the Hazara community within the Afghan social framework. The geographic location of the Hazara population is intrinsically intertwined with their social standing and Hazara historical trajectory, primarily concentrated within the central highlands of Afghanistan, particularly regions such as the Hazarajat and the Hazaras, inhabit the areas characterized by geographic isolation, featuring rugged terrain and challenging climatic conditions, which collectively render it less accessible and less conducive to the economic advancement of the community. This geographic seclusion has significantly contributed to the ongoing marginalization of the Hazara community. The initial portrayal of the spatial and geographic disparities between the Pashtuns and the Hazaras surfaces within the novel through the description of the respective lodgings of Baba, who was the father of Hassan, and Ali, who was and Baba, the father of Amir, and Ali, the father of Hassan. The contrasting descriptions presented by the narrator about the housing or lodgings serve as a barrier which divides the Hazaras from the community. Now, talking about the description between the Hazaras and Pashtuns find its origin in the realm of religious and cultural traditions, which in turn trace their root to the geographic foundations of their respective communities. I've also showed a quote from the novel itself, in which Asif, a Pashtun, says, "Afghanistan is the land of Pashtuns. It always has been, always will be. We are the true Afghans, the pure Afghans, not this flat nose here. His people pollute our homeland, our Watan. They dirty our blood. He made a sweeping, grandiose gesture with his hands. Afghanistan for Pashtuns. I say that's my vision, to rid Afghanistan of all dirty Kasif Hazaras. In line with Michel Foucault's insightful theory regarding the interplay between knowledge and power, Khalid Hosseini skillfully illustrates how the Pashtuns, the dominant and the influential group in the narrative, wield their authority to shape and control the narrative that surround them. Here's a quote from the novel itself. For years, that was all I knew about the Hazaras. That they were Mongol descendants and that they looked like a little like Chinese people. School textbooks barely mentioned them and referred them and referred to their ancestry only in passing. This line was uttered by Amir, who was a Pashtun, and shows how the education system of the Afghan was manipulated, as said by Foucault, that those who are in power always manipulate the knowledge. Moving, as we are in a rush of time, I would like to conclude the paper with a few points. The paper, analyzed from a radical geographic viewpoint, studies how Khalid Hosseini offers an intriguing prism through which to examine the Hazara population in Afghanistan and evaluates how the narrative's power structures, historical setting, and the geographic considerations influence how the spatial geography, facial descriptions, which were influenced by the ethnography and the lack of education, led to the ethnic discrimination against the Hazara community. The novel presents how, in a class-based society, Foucault's theory of power and discourse prevails, thus highlighting the role a knowledge system plays in both supporting as well as subverting authority. Here is a list of the work cited while preparing the research paper. Thank you all. Hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next paper presenter is Akshita. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akshita, and my topic is narcissism as a predictor of life satisfaction among adults. So, these are the contents I'll be covering. So, narcissism, it is a self-centered behavioral tendency in which a person is having an excessive preoccupation with oneself, has a grandiose self of importance, and lack empathy for others. They are constant need for self-promotion, entitlement, and admiration from others.
What is the title of the paper?
Narcissism as predictor of life satisfaction.
Have you taken any primary text?
It's secondary data. I've collected it. So life satisfaction is a Latin word which means to do or make enough. So satisfaction is when a person accepts life situation and has a sense of fulfillment in a life as a whole. In this we evaluate a cognitive evaluation of a person's life. Chedda at 1993 termed life satisfaction as general well-being. It has three factors: social, physical, and psychological. Now, the effects of narcissism on life satisfaction. Narcissism is creating problems in every one person's life at social, psychological, or occupational level. Narcissist people are mostly disappointed and unhappy with their life. Talking about their relationships, they find them unfulfilling and they don't enjoy it. They are mostly envious of others and feel like everyone else is envying them. They get angry and impatient if they don't get the special treatment they think they deserve, and they try to belittle others in an attempt to make themselves superior. They have problems in coping with stress and adopt change. If they feel they are not being perfect, they feel depressed and moody. The self-esteem of narcissists are not secure because it is highly dependent on validation from others. They have a fantasies for success, beauty, and power. So, cultural influence, individualistic societies like the West, we tend to foster self-enhancement and achievement, which fuel narcissistic personalities, while the collectivist cultures like the Eastern, in this they promote group harmony and modesty, which suppress the narcissistic behaviors. These are the studies in which, for the Kellys, they studied to evaluate pathological narcissism and its link to life satisfaction, found a narcissistic person have reduced level of life satisfaction. Yun and Koo performed a research study, and in this found that grandiose narcissism is boosting life satisfaction while vulnerable narcissism is reducing it. Shalini Srivastav and Dipti Pathak conducted a study. In this, they found that overt narcissism is boosting life satisfaction, while covert narcissism is negatively related to it. Mohammad Adib, Sana Waris conducted a study. In this, they found that life satisfaction is negatively related to narcissism, and the condition gets worse with social media usage. So, from all the observations we have done, we have found that grandiose, admiration, and overt narcissism are increasing life satisfaction level of the individual, while vulnerable, rivalry, and covert narcissism is reducing the level of life satisfaction. Some other factors can also impact the level of life satisfaction, which can be loneliness, self-esteem, social support, and relationship issues. Narcissism is mostly considered to be a negative consequence and negative impact, but it is not completely that much harmful. If it is at a healthy level, it can drive success, it can boost person's confidence and self-esteem. But if it reaches the extreme level, it can lead to interpersonal conflicts, reduced empathy for others, and social dysfunction. So, to counteract the negative effects of narcissism, we need to inculcate self-awareness and empathy in the individuals, which will gain them deeper understandings of their own behavior and motivation, as well as their tendency to understand others. So further future suggestions are we can do more research and collect primary data to prove our findings, and effect of narcissism can be evaluated on other variables. These are the references. Thank you.
Questions, anyone? Discussion points? Any? Akshita, are you a student of the Department of English and Psychology? All I can say is it's a very good starting point, right? You have your hypothesis in place. But I feel that it can do far better if you were to actually apply it to some example. Like you have taken a hypothesis that this is what happens when it's a collectivist society as opposed to an individualistic society, right? Now, had you taken up 2 texts maybe or 2 samples for study and then applied this theory of narcissism to that and then taken it out from there, it will just become more strong. Like right now, I know you mentioned that it is secondary research, but to make that secondary research applicable it will become better because as of now, it's good as an ROL. But in terms of a research paper, it just needs a little application. So if you're going to put it up for publication or something, I think you should also add that paper. Otherwise, it's just theory. There's no application.
Well, moving forward, our next paper presenter is Ms. Babita.
Not here.
A very good afternoon to all of you. The title of my paper is The Eye as Weapon in Baldwin's protest novel, If Beale Street Could Talk. So I start with a quote. I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. So Black people have been discriminated throughout American history, but under the influence of Malcolm and with civil rights movement, African Americans started to see their improved lifestyle and living conditions. The Voting Rights Act protects them from discrimination in voting. Racial segregation was totally abolished, but African Americans still faced exclusions, violence, and discrimination. Most of them still lived in harsh living conditions in ghettos and suffered from poverty and unemployment. Many Black writers decided to pen down and to expose all these discriminations after witnessing the harsh reality of African Americans. So then I come to the writer, Baldwin. He was born in a poor and religious family in 1924. And being hated by his stepfather, he spent a very alone, or we can say a desolate childhood. So not only he was a Black, but also homosexual. This double alienation, as well as the murders of the political leaders, make Baldwin aware of the fact that he could neither work nor live in the United States, where the situation remained unchanged. He was a militant, an essayist, a novelist, and a social critic. He was discriminated being Black, homosexual, and an artist too. He was nicknamed Martin Luther King because he was involved in gay politics. He was also criticized for his approach of race based on love, recognition, and acceptance of the self and the other, which are rooted in his work, contrary to Richard Wright, who had a more angry and violent voice in his novel. I quote, Keith Clark declares, one cannot read Baldwin's oeuvre without placing him squarely within a tradition of Black masculinist writer. So Baldwin was ahead of his time as he connects race with gender and sexuality in his works. And here we can read about him is intersectionality, which is the base of all his works. And it is at the core of our analysis of the novel. So let's have a short summary of the novel. It is the story of a female protagonist, Clementine, who is 19 years old, and narrative voice of the novel. She lives in Harlem, an area which is populated only by the poor Black people. She is in love with Fonny, who is 21 years old, but he is falsely accused of rape on a Puerto Rican woman. Clementine, with the help of her family, does everything to get Fonny out of prison, despite facing injustices. The novel tackles with themes which have always been pervaded his work, that is love, friendship, family, quest for identity, we can say fight and resistance, racism and sexism, and so on. Intersectionality refers to the situation of people who undergo simultaneously different forms of discrimination and oppression in our society. So Baldwin's novels brings with it a sense of resolution on the part of author, and its recognition presages a new trend in Black writing. So now I'm skipping. And then Baldwin carefully chose Tish and Fonny as his protagonist. The plot is constructed with a degree of skills, which denotes the craftsman. Events and incidents are not randomly chosen, but are selected with a purpose in mind. This is purposeful action as well as carefully, we can say, planned time sequence. The themes goes back to the plantation tradition, which acknowledges the superiority of mulattoes over blacks who became field niggers, while mulattoes are elevated to the status of house niggers. At this crucial point in the relationship, just as they are making plans to marry, when Fonny is arrested and charged with the rape of a Puerto Rican woman. Bell, an Irish policeman, places Fonny at the scene of his crime. Bell's motives follow the usual cliche. He is a racist who has shot a black boy and is out to get Fonny, who has beaten a white youth who made torture to Tish. He is sexually attracted to Tish, the black sexual object of the white man's lust. His unconscious, we can say, homosexuality focuses on Fonny as a symbol of black male sexual prowess. Tish recounts, I quote, "Sometimes I was with Fonny when I crossed Bell's path, sometimes alone." So the Rivers clan, we can say, which is the family of Clementine, on the other hand, have been stereotyped as the ideal black family. They adopt Fonny spiritually and stand steadfastly through all his troubles. Tish and her unborn child are protected and virtually smothered with love. In this black family reside all goodness and purity, symbolic of black mythopia, used as a psychic safety. It might be noted, however, that stereotype though it is, but the novel is typical of Baldwin's works. In his most significant novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, he neither sentimentalizes the black family nor ignores the weakness of blacks. He sees and recognizes degradation in Harlem while blaming the white power structure. He will not romanticize evil in Black Eden. Under the person of John, he looks at the frailties of Elizabeth, of Gabriel, of Royal, not as romantic virtues which proclaim the black man's primeval relationship with nature, but as individual weakness that more or less typify the human condition. Dispassionately, Florence Johnson reviews Gabriel's sins, his adultery, his mistreatment of his wife. So here Tish is also presented as a modern Madonna, a vessel and instrument to bring into the world a Messiah, not by immaculate conception, but by the sacred penetration of the maidenhead and the act of holy sexual communion as sperm races to meet ovum. Two bodies becoming one in a span of joyous union. Moving from this mystical height, we note that the symbolism of the unborn child bears the full weight of the novel's protest. The unborn child's cunning is the cunning of the black man as he attempts to survive poverty, hunger, poor nutrition, rat-ridden and vermin-infested apartments, exploitation, ruthless pushers, we can say heroin addiction, betrayal, hatred in all its form and guises. The will of the child to be born is the will of the black man to survive as a face. The child's message is that with his arrival, there will be a universal rebirth in which racism shall not prevail. So Baldwin's protest is not being condemned merely because it is protest. So now we come to the eye weapon. If the eye is indeed the light to the soul, then Baldwin lays many of his characters bare in his novel. The people in the novel, by looking at each other, not with just casual glances, but with intense eye contact, reveal many of their subconscious thoughts and feelings. On a superficial level, they use eye contact to fight battles that might require guns, knives, and other more physical weapons if the characters in a different societal context. And on a deeper level, they use the eye of commune in metaphysical terms. So in this novel, the talk would be of people in trouble, people who love, people who suffer, sacrifice, and the people who is having hope in their future. So this is the method by which he conveys to readers his belief in Black community and spirituality. So eye contact is both real and symbolic confrontation, be it for purposes of communion, seduction, or conquest. One character is usually dominating the other. The use of this contact can result in calming a disturbed person down, inspiring a depressed person, encouraging sexual submission, or creating feelings of terror in persons who lack authority and social status. At the heart of all of these confrontations is the idea of transformation, of converting people to a different point of view, of change of their mind, and there is also a change of attitude. The concept of change by intense reflection, we can say here there is the symbol of mirror, is introduced by Tish, the 19-year-old narrator, in the very first sentence of the novel, and provides undercurrents throughout. I quote, "I look at myself in the mirror," she says, trying to understand the changes and transformations that have been thrust upon her. She is seeking for something in her own eyes that will convey such knowledge to her, a search for understanding that many of the later confrontation scenes center upon. So now I conclude that in this novel, Baldwin presents a bleak view of a hypocritical justice system that claims to uphold the cause of the innocent but is run by the prejudice and exploitation. Phony is both accused and held in prison because of racist authorities and a corrupt judicial system, and at the novel's conclusion, he has still not received justice. Phony's fate at the end of the novel is unknown. So it is upon the thinking of the, we can say, reader. So the reader only knows that his trial has been postponed and that he is presumably still in prison while Tish has their baby. Baldwin implies through Phony and Tish's story that until racism and corruption are eliminated from law enforcement and the judicial system, they will continue to wreak havoc on the lives of the innocent. Thank you.
So we'll move forward with the presentation of Sanghmitra Rathod.
Yes, take a very quick moment here to remind everyone that 5 minutes is the time that is allotted to us, and there is a best paper award as well. So if you give some time, try to not go beyond the time. Okay.
Oh.
Distinguished Professor Ms. Dr. Anjali ma'am, respected guests, and my fellow research scholars. So today I am Sanghmitra Rathod. I am Assistant Professor at Vedanta PG Girls College, Ringas. And as you can see, my topic is, sorry, would you please help me with that? Actually, this is wrong. One second, can you just go in this PPT section? This PPT section, okay. Yeah. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience you had. So as you can see, my topic is narrative resurgence and cultural identity in Rajasthani folklore, a historical exploration of mythical events and ethnicity. The enchanting deserts and vibrant culture of Rajasthan have long beckoned travelers and scholars alike, offering a tapestry of stories, myths, and legends that resonate with historical depth and cultural diversity. Amid the shifting sands of time within the heart of
This northwestern Indian state lies a realm of oral tradition and narratives that have transcended centuries, providing a window into the very soul of Rajasthan. At the core of this intricate web of tales are mythical events, narrative deeply intertwined with the ethnic identity of this region. Folk narratives in oral tradition are not fixed but fluid. They evolve as they are retold, adapting to changes in language, context, and storyteller's perspective. Oral tradition is also a vital repository of cultural knowledge, including historical accounts, moral lessons, and religious. The significance of vernacular or folk languages in the context of literary works is exemplified by their deliberate incorporation into renowned literary compositions, a practice undertaken to enhance the authenticity and vernacularity of the respective writings, beliefs, and identity makers. It reinforces a community's sense to self. The celebrated Sanskrit poet Kalidas' utilization of Prakrit, the language of the common people, in the dialogue of his female characters, serves as a noteworthy illustration of his deliberate literary choice to infuse his works with a touch of authenticity and reliability. Here is an example where Shakuntala is talking to her friends Priyamvada and Anusuya, where Priyamvada says, Anusuye tasya raj srehe prathama drasyanad armeya prayusukta seva Shakuntala kim nu kalyavasatano mittu ayatamanuku bhavit. She is saying now she uses Prakrit language to translate her work. Now Anusuya says, Sakhi, Mama Priya Dasya Sankhya Das Dayasya Bhavatu Prakshe Mitavedanam Sakhi Prasatche Kimapi Balavan Khalute Sampata, which is translated by Kalidas himself into Prakrit. Prakrit was the language of folk, and Kalidas uses Prakrit to intensify the role of folk, the role of people in his work. During the Middle Ages, Latin was the language of the church and scholarship, while French was the language of the Norman nobility who ruled over England after the Norman conquest of 1066. English, in contrast, was spoken by the common people in medieval literature and drama. We can find examples of characters speaking in Latin or French, especially when those characters are portrayed as members of clergy or the nobility, while the common characters are seen using English, which at that time was language of common or people. Geoffrey Chaucer, in his famous work, The Canterbury Tales, often used English, the Middle English, for common characters and situations, while he used Latin and French for aristocratic characters or when depicting formal and scholarly contexts. This linguistic distinction in his writings helped differentiate the social status and education level of his characters, reflecting the linguistic and social diversity of his time. In the Canterbury Tales, the character of the prioress is depicted as speaking French to emphasize her higher social position. Here is an example. The prioress, Madame Eglantine, begins her prologue with the following lines in French: Anedeth, allez, ye lovers, I pray that if these sounds like it yow, ye pray that it yow like it on the same wise, and if it displays yow, ye give it annoys. Characters representing the common people in the Canterbury Tales often speak in Middle English. Here are quotes from commoner characters. The ploughman, but Threechy winter in the Compine, there was noon, other old floil for joy. When we talk about the Middle English that was used, it is spoken differently. It is not only written differently, it was also spoken differently. Now I move to the role of oral tradition in Rajasthan's folklore. And as ma'am has already told that the time is limited, I will move to the main part of the paper. The evolution of mythical events in Rajasthani folk literature, the evolution
of mythical events in Rajasthani folk literature is a captivating journey reflecting the region's rich cultural tapestry and its ability to adapt to a changing times while preserving its historical and ethnic identity. It is a testament to the enduring power of preserving its historical and ethnic identity, storytelling, and its ability to adapt while preserving cultural heritage. These narratives have transitioned from oral tradition to written records, diversified into regional variations, and continue to inspire contemporary artistic expression. They remain a vibrant part of Rajasthan's cultural identity, bridging the past and present. As you all must be aware of the legend of Meera, Meera, as we know, as a character of history, and Meera, as we know, of a character of culture. Both are different things. Like Mirabai is widely recognized as one of the most famous and revered devotees of Lord Krishna in the history of Indian spirituality. Her unwavering devotion and the deep spiritual love she expressed in her poetry have made her a beloved figure in the Bhakti movement. Mirabai's life and devotion have left an indelible mark on the cultural and spiritual landscape of India, and her name is known and celebrated by people across the country and beyond. When Rana is mentioned repeatedly in Meera's poem, it is understood that she is talking about her husband. When we read Meera's work and when we listen to her bhajans, when we think about, there is a continuous mention of Rana ji ka zahar dena. When we talk about Rana, we think about he was her husband, but Rana was not her husband. He was her brother-in-law. Actually, Meera had a very fond relationship, a good relationship with her husband. And she herself says, when Rana is mentioned repeatedly in Meera's poems, it is understood that she is talking about her husband. It is believed that the one who gave the poison cup to Meera is her husband, Bhojraj, whereas Meera's relationship with her husband was very normal. Prominent historians claim that Bhojraj died during the Malwa or Gujarat campaign between 1518 and 1523. After the death of Rana, his son Ratan Singh became the king, and after his death, 1531, his younger brother Vikramaditya, 1531 to 1536, became the king. Because this was the time when Meera's fame was spreading far and wide. Vikramaditya did not like Meera singing and doing kirtan with the saints. Meera's brother-in-law was the same Rana who tried to kill her by poisoning her. She herself says in her poems, Pag ghungru bandh Meera nachi re, main to mere Narayan ki aapai ho gayi dasi re, log kahe bhai Meera nayat kahi kulam si re, विष का प्याला राणा जी भेज या पीवत मीरा हसी रे, मीरा का प्रभु गिरधर नागर सहज मिले अविनाशी रे. So the next, another misconception prevalent in the society regarding Meera is that Meera was preventing from doing devotion. Meera was a destitute and a helpless person, but the reality is that feudal women were provided jagirs by the Pihar side and from the in-law side. While the taxes received from them, they used to do devotion, go on pilgrimage, and also used to get temples renovated. Many temples were renovated by Meera. If we witness the restoration of temples, then how can it be possible that a woman who is dependent on others can undertake so many pilgrimages and renovate temples? There is also evidence of Meera running a grain field in Vrindavan itself called the Anna Kshetra. So how it was possible if she was dependent on her in-laws or she was a deprived woman, she was able to restore old temples. When we talk about Meera, we go with the orthodoxy we have heard about, that Meera was a helpless woman, she was poisoned and she was tortured by her in-laws. But when we see into the history is completely different. I would like to say that many pseudo-feminists have also portrayed her as we say in our local languages, bichari character. She was not a bichari character. She was a prominent character. She was the one who restored the temples. How could a woman who is not able to eat by herself will be able to provide Anna Kshetra? Anna Kshetra means there was Anna Bhandar to feed people. If she was not able to feed herself, how would she have been able to feed other people? So with okay. So in conclusion, I want to say that our scholarly expedition through the vivid landscapes of Rajasthan unveils the intricate nexus of the narrative resurgence and cultural identity within Rajasthani folklore, grounded in narrative theory and identity studies. Rajasthan, a realm of shifting sands and vibrant traditions, conceals narratives that transcends time. Through historical analysis, it is evident that these narratives passed through generations endure and profoundly shape Rajasthani ethnicity. They are mirrors reflecting collective memory, guides to the future, and echoes of the past. This journey concludes with an invitation to continue exploring Rajasthan's vibrant folklore. The enduring allure of its stories serves as a bridge between the past and the future, ensuring that the voices of the past continue to resonate in the hearts of those who seek to unravel the mysteries of this culturally rich and historically profound land. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bajrang Chola Pehe Sakhiri. Actually, the most of the references I took for Meera, it was from that. Yeah.
Have you cited?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you read the translation, Meera versus Meera by Pradeep Tripu?
I would love to read.
So Bajrang Chola Pehe Sakhiri has been translated by Pradeep Tripu into a book called Meera versus Meera. Was she a determined queen, or everything that you have just said is there?
I read Madhav Hada's book, and there are references from the Khyat selvins.
Yes.
The Moon of the Nancy's Khyat is very popular. If you want to read and know about Rajasthani culture, Moon of the Nancy's Khyat is very popular. And he's taken his examples and sources from the Khyats as well. So it's authentic.
Madhav is a very senior and
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah.
worth reading. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to our presentation from Dr. Shikha Agarwal and Dr. Krati Bhumia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected ma'am. So here is my paper. The title of the paper. My name is Dr. Shikha Agarwal, and right now I'm working as an assistant professor too in SKIT Jaipur. And the title of the paper is Navigating the Absurd Elements of Identity. The famed essay, The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus, dives into the philosophical of the absurd, painstakingly probing the ultimate meaninglessness that characterizes existence. Camus, French philosopher, in the following study, an in-depth investigation of the relationship between identity, crisis, myth, and the poignant topic of emotional isolation throughout Camus' work is presented. This paper highlights the significance of the myth in providing a compelling framework for navigating the inherent contradictions that define human life by delving into Camus' portrayal of the absurd and its profound influence on individual identity. It also does so by examining the resonance narrative of Sisyphus' emotional detachment. Together, these two elements help to illustrate the significance of the myth, the absurd and the identity crisis. So he calls himself as an absurd. He is against the existentialism, and we are talking about the identity. So there are two theories of existentialism. We have Kierkegaard, Husserl, and there are so many philosophies are there. But absurdity is something, although it has intimate relationship between existentialism, but this absurdity is saying that we do not try to find any meaning in the meaninglessness, but just face it on the face. The exploration of the world of the absurd that Albert Camus undertakes in the myth of Sisyphus serves as a catalyst to challenge established assumptions of meaning, purpose, and identity. The essay does an excellent job of tackling the existential conundrum of trying to find meaning in a world that by its very nature seems to be devoid of any kind of consistent purpose. Camus reveals a significant relationship between identity crisis, mythological tales, and the deeply evocative topic of emotional solitude in the face of the absurdity of life. So this is the essay, which is the book is divided into 4 parts, and the last part, the myth of Sisyphus, has taken this Greek symbol of absurdity in this particular book, and through this character, Albert Camus is trying to show the meaninglessness of this world, but then suicide is not even a point. So the point is that if there is no point in living, so should we commit suicide? And then absurdist says that there is no point in committing suicide also. The only point is that face it as it is, and that is that the fullest meaning you will get. Like this Greek symbol of Sisyphus, and he was condemned forever by God because he said that I will conquer death, and he put the death into the chains. But then when he was liberated, then what happened? God gave him this condemning that what you will do, there will be a boulder and you will be putting all your efforts in, pulling the boulder up the hill, up the mountain, and it will again fall back. And it is very relevant to our present life, what we are doing actually. We are going to 9-to-5 job, and then we find no meaning in that. And again, the next day we are doing the same thing. It is such a monotonous life, and it is very much symbolic to that symbol of Sisyphus, which is, the crux of the study of Albert Camus, what he's trying to make. But then he is saying that if you see Camus, if you see Sisyphus, that he is taking pleasure in that. Every day he is pushing the boulder up to the mountain, and then it fall back. Again doing that, fall back. But then he is so courageous and facing that meaninglessness of the world. So he's saying that the existentialists, they try to find out the meaning in this unreasonable world, but it is better not to find any meaning because it is meaningless. And some of them are taking they take this soothing effect, they go to the devotion of the god, or on the other hand, they just say that it is meaningless. The only thing the absurd feel is that face it, like this Sisyphus has done. So it also shows the identity crisis, also shows the emotional isolation and estrangement. Painful undercurrent of emotional isolation arises through the story of Sisyphus, an isolation that parallels the experience of humanity as a whole. His solitary labor is a metaphor for the emotional existential distancing. So he's pulling up the boulder alone. Nobody is with him. That is, the symbolic to our present modern life, that we are alone, we are facing the challenges of life, and we are doing a lot of labor throughout the day, 24/7. And at the end of the day, we find the meaninglessness of this world. So very quickly, I would come to the conclusion and different headings which I have given in the paper. Distancing oneself emotionally from other people and society, that is really absurd, a reflection of the human experience. The absurdity of Sisyphus' perpetual punishment. In Albert Camus' examination of the Sisyphus, the absurdity of Sisyphus' perpetual duty becomes a potent metaphor for the inherent conflict between human desires and the indifferent universe. This contradiction is at the heart of the central theme of Camus' work. The concept of the absurd can be summed up by the task that Sisyphus is doomed to perform forever, which is to move a rock uphill just to have it roll back down again. This laborious and seemingly pointless task captures the spirit of the absurd. The never-ending loop of his work accentuates the absurdity of his life and draws attention to the pointlessness of his attempts in the face of a universe that is indifferent to his well-being. This ongoing punishment compounds his predicament with regard to his identity as he struggles to answer the fundamental query of whether or not his acts have any actual value. The act of defying the gods and establishing one's identity. Within an absurd cosmos, Sisyphus' act of defiance against the gods, in which he continues to perform meaningless labor despite the absence of any higher purpose, demonstrates how humans can create agency and develop their identity within an absurd cosmos. Sisyphus is able to put up a type of resistance against the pointlessness of his labor by the simple fact that he does not choose to accept his destiny in a passive manner. He creates for himself a sense of agency over his actions by making his ongoing punishment into an act of intentional involvement instead of passive submission. Kemas says that, I quote, the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart, unquote. And this deference lends credence to his statement. The agency displayed by Sisyphus in the face of absurdity is illustrative of the way in which individuals can construct their identities by taking control of their actions and deciding to connect with the environment, even in the absence of preset purpose for doing so. Sisyphus' endless effort can also be regarded as a quest for authenticity. Then there is a conflict between the innate human desire for purpose and seemingly indifferent. The never-ending struggle for Sisyphus as a powerful metaphor for human existence. And in the last, the writer Albert Camus is trying to say, so this defiance reflects the central tenet of Camus' theory, which is that despite the absence of any predetermined meaning in the cosmos, individuals are nevertheless capable of constructing their own purpose and asserting their own distinctive identities while existing within the absurd. As the story progresses, the myth gradually reveals the emotional solitude that is associated with the human battle for identity. This is done in a very subtle way. The solitary toil of Sisyphus is a metaphor for the emotional alienation that people frequently feel when pursuing their particular goals, and he serves as a symbol of because of this. This emotional isolation serves as a powerful reminder that the path to self-discovery can often be a solitary one, fraught with difficulties and ambiguities. It highlights the emotional toil that may be taken while attempting to navigate the intricacies of life without the reassurance of shared knowledge and purpose. A profound investigation of the human condition, the myth of Sisyphus, by Albert Camus, weaves together identity crisis, mythic narrative, and emotional solitude into a unified tapestry that reveals the complexity of being alive. Camus not only portrays the underlying contradiction between human need and the indifference of the universe throughout the ageless metaphor of Sisyphus, everlasting struggle in their own voyage of self-reflection. Individuals can navigate the intricate terrain of life's inherent contradictions. In doing so, construct a resilient and authentic sense of self within the inescapable embrace of the ridiculous by embracing the struggle for identity, shaping meaning, and accepting the emotional weight of loneliness. This allows individuals to craft a durable and authentic sense of self within the inexorable embrace of the absurd. Thank you very much.
Now we'll have the online presentations. Can you unmute yourself once?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
It's better also.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. My name is Ishita Sarkar. I'm a PhD scholar in the Department of English at Jadavpur University, Kolkata. A very warm, thank you, ma'am. Sorry.
Just 1 second, you're just not.
Ishita, we are trying to hook you up because we cannot see you on video, but please continue. Just remember you have 5 minutes. So may I suggest that you actually just bring the crux of what you want to say and continue within 5 minutes, please?
Okay, ma'am, sure, sure. I'll most definitely do that. Okay, so the title of my paper is Filling in the Gap, Reinterpreting American Slave History Through a Feminist Lens. Now, before we move on to discuss about American slave history, we need to first understand about the term slave narrative and also about the term neo-slave narrative. Now, first of all, what does the term slave narrative actually mean? A slave narrative is actually a first-person account of experiences of someone who has been enslaved, particularly in the United States, before the American Civil War. Now, these slave narratives offer a harrowing glimpse into the life of the enslaved people, their struggle, their suffering, and their quest for freedom. So, slave narratives have played a crucial role in the abolitionist movement and have since become an important part of the American literature and history. So, slave narratives are autobiographical. They were written or narrated by formerly enslaved individuals themselves. They provide a direct and personal perspective on the institution of slavery. These narratives detail the physical and psychological hardships endured by enslaved people, including forced labor, abuse, separation from family, and the denial of basic human rights. Now, one important and influential example of such a slave narrative is this autobiography titled Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. And this has been written by Frederick Douglass himself, and it was published in the year 1845. Now, Douglass was one of the most prominent African-American abolitionists, and his autobiography is a classic of this genre. This autobiography vividly recounts and analyzes his experience as a slave and his eventual escape into freedom. Now, slave narratives, still today, they were continued to be studied and they were celebrated for their historical significance. Their contributions to the understanding of the brutal reality of American slavery, and so they also remain relevant in the discussions of race, in the discussions of identity, social justice in the United States. So that was all about slave narratives. Now coming to the term neo-slave narrative. Neo-slave narratives or new slave narratives, and they were also known as contemporary slave narratives. They are a genre of literature that emerged only in the 20th and early 21st centuries. These narratives explore the enduring impact of slavery on the African Americans and their descendants in the United States. While traditional slave narratives were written by formerly enslaved individuals in the 18th and 19th centuries, new slave narratives are the creative works of modern writers who use fiction, historical fiction, and sometimes speculative fiction to delve into the historical trauma and contemporary repercussions of slavery. Therefore, in short, it can be said that new slave narratives have become an important genre for exploring the enduring impact of slavery on American society and for continuing the conversations about race, about identity, and historical trauma. They provide a means of revisiting and re-evaluating history of slavery and its consequences in the contemporary world. Now coming to the primary argument of my paper. So the primary argument of my paper, it aims to explore how the new slave narratives that were written particularly by Black women writers have played a significant role in reinterpreting and reclaiming American slave history. New slave novels or fictions such as Beloved by Toni Morrison and also Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, they were not only influential in reshaping popular perceptions of slavery, but they also offered new insights into the lived experiences of enslaved individuals, particularly Black women. These women authors brought attention to aspects of American slavery that have been either overlooked or omitted from mainstream historical narratives. Now, when I'm saying omitted, they were omitted particularly by Black, male authors. So new slave narratives written by male authors have been criticized for often excluding or sometimes inadequately representing the experiences of female slaves. This exclusion can result from a lot of factors, such as limited perspective, gender bias, societal expectations, intersectionality, and so on. Many a times, it has been seen that male authors, they does not fully capture the distinct and multifaceted experiences of female slaves due to differences in gender, societal roles, and specific challenges and oppressions faced by enslaved women. In some new slave narratives, the central focus may be only on male characters and their journeys, with female characters serving only as secondary or supporting roles. These most of the times lead to a lack of depth in the portrayal of female experiences. Also, male authors may consciously sometimes adhere to societal expectations and stereotypes about gender roles, and sometimes they may not fully challenge or subvert these norms in their storytelling. Now, adding to all of these factors, it is important for us to note that female slaves. Yes.
Ma'am, your time is over. Can you please conclude?
Okay, I'll conclude in 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes.
1 minute. We only can give you 1.
Okay. Now, the particular work of new slave fiction that I have tried to analyze in my paper is titled Beloved. Coming to the conclusion of my paper, it can be said that Toni Morrison's Beloved, although it is a very powerful novel that extensively highlights the female lived experience, particularly within the context of slavery and its aftermath, in a way it also, it shows some pertinent ways in which the book explores and emphasizes the female perspective as well. The first aspect that the book explores is the aspect of motherhood and sacrifice. The novel foregrounds the theme of motherhood and the immense sacrifices made by female characters. The main character, who is named Seth, her decision to kill her own child rather than allow her to be enslaved. This illustrates the desperate measures that women took to protect their children from the horrors of slavery. The second aspect is about trauma and resilience. Beloved, this particular fiction had vividly depicts the psychological trauma endured by the female slaves and their remarkable resilience in the face of suffering. The third aspect is about friendship and sisterhood. The novel portrays deep friendship and sisterhood among female characters. The relationship between Seth and the other secondary characters such as Baby Suggs and Paul D. They highlight the importance of communal bonds and coping with trauma and adversity. The novel also explores the quest for personal agency and identity among female characters. Seth's journey towards self-acceptance and empowerment is central to the narrative. Moreover, the story emphasizes the importance of healing from trauma and the necessity of reckoning with the past. Female characters, especially Seth and Denver, they go through a process of acknowledging and confronting their histories. The strength of female bond has also been highlighted in the novel. So overall, Beloved, it offers a profound and multifaceted portrayal of female lived experiences, particularly in the context of American slave history. And Toni Morrison, this brilliant writer, she had beautifully, she had delved into the complexities of all of these experiences and had shed light on the strength, resilience, and humanity of her female characters who navigate through this difficult terrain and through this difficult period of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is Himanshi Parmar here?
Yes, I'm here.
So you want to go next?
Okay, thank you. Am I visible?
You'll only get you'll only get 5 minutes to present.
Okay, okay. Am I visible?
Yeah. Actually, do you have a PPT?
Yes, I have PPT, and I will share my screen. Just a second. I'm just sharing my screen. Is it visible?
Please start.
Is it visible? My PPT is visible?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's visible.
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you. Sorry. My PPT is visible?
Yes, ma'am. PT.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm beginning. So my name is Himanshi Parmar and I am a lecturer at Shamaldas Arts College, MK Bhavnagar University, Bhavnagar, Gujarat. And today's my research paper's topic is Unveiling Mythical Threads, Exploring the Interplay of Gender and Cultural Norms in Mythology. As I just have 5 minutes, I'm not going to explain that what is Ramayana by Valmiki and what is the Cinderella, a folk tale, which is particularly a folk tale because I just don't have time. So I'm directly going to my research. So first, when we will do just a cultural study and the gender study of Ramayana, we will find that there is a different role assigned to men and women. For in Ramayana, while doing the cultural study and gender study, we will find that the men are portrayed as a warrior, as a ruler and decision maker, while women are most of the women are portrayed as portrayed in domestic roles like as a wives, as a mothers, or as a caretakers. Also, there is a second type of representation of duty of dharma is also there. So the duty of dharma, while we are studying characters through that lens, we will find that Rama is a prince or a king, which is whose duty is portrayed as being a ruler or ruling, while Sita, a wife of Rama, is shown as the devoted wife. So to explain this, the different roles of man and woman through the lens of cultural study and gender study, I have taken some of the events from Ramayana. Okay, so the first event is Sita Swayamvara. A King Janaka, a father of Sita, was organized a Swayamvara for his daughter Sita. And he challenged suitors to string Pinaka and the bow of Lord Shiva. That Pinaka was a bow of Lord Shiva. So this is the bow, or this is the Pinaka which Sita used to play with when she was a child. And Rama wins the competition and she just go to marry Sita. While doing the study of this Sita Swayamvara, I just found one shloka of said by Janaka. That is the translation of that shloka is, I offer my daughter Sita, who looks like a celestial maiden, as a reward for Rama's prowess, and my second daughter Urmila. I proclaim it 3 times so that there is no doubt about it. So here the word reward is seen quite problematic. It is showing that how women are treated as are treated as an object or as a rewards which a man can able to win with the power. If they have power, they can win the woman. Why? Because they are treated as the rewards. So this is what this statement is telling. So while doing cultural study, one can interpret it like this also, that this is a kind of male-dominated society where a father of Sita decided that my daughter will going to marry this person who strings the Pinaka, and Rama just won that competition and she just marries to Sita. The personal opinion of Sita doesn't matter at all. While we are doing cultural study, one can interpret it like this also. The second is Sita's kidnapping. So as a child, Sita used to play with the air of Lord Shiva, and which even a great king could not lift. So, by this incident, we are able to find that she is very much, she is very strengthful. She is very brave woman. But when she was kidnapped by Ravana, we will find that she used to say this shloka that, oh mean Ravan, are you not ashamed of kidnapping me when I was separated from my husband? It means while we are doing gender study, we will find we can interpret or we can deconstruct it like this also, that man is seen as a protector here, like either it is a husband, brother, father, or friend. So here Sita is, even she is so she is able to fight with Ravana. She is very, very brave. The Pinaka which she used to play in her childhood, it is Ravana also not able to lift that Pinaka. And when he kidnapped Sita, she behaved like she is a kind of weak character. She is a kind of she is nothing without her husband. So here also there is one example, or we in our culture there is one festival we will find that is Raksha Bandhan. Raksha Bandhan is all about a brother giving promise to her sister that he will take care of her, he will protect her. So again we will find that there is a man who is protecting woman. A woman need a man protector. So again, we will find that in the light of cultural study, we will find that woman is portrayed as a weaker character since it was since the ancient time. Then the third event I have taken is deconstruct. There is a event when Sita is when the Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana is in the forest. They are living in the forest, and always what we have in mind that in our society also people used to tell us that Sita is the ideal character. Sita is the ideal wife, ideal mother, ideal daughter-in-law, ideal woman, and we used to heard that thing that be like a Sita in our culture. So what happened now? They are telling that Sita is always calm when the situation is going wrong. She is never misbehaved. She is never spoken something which is not acceptable by society. But in Ramayana, in Valmiki's Ramayana, we will find some shlokas which includes some words which are not some include some words which are not acceptable by our society even in this time. So at that time you just think that what was the situation in ancient times, and these words are like this: it is possesses me that you wish Rama's death, you do not rush to him certainly because of the greed of him. This is the event when there is a golden deer who just shout in a voice of Rama, and Sita forced Lakshman to go to there to help his brother, and Lakshman is denying because he is very much aware about this, that this is might be someone's trick to let him out from Sita. So he is denying, and Sita is forcing him. But at that time, when Lakshman totally disagree with this, that I'm not going to go to Rama, Sita said him that you might wish Rama's death and you wish me, you have a greed of me. So this is something ideal woman's character is breaking down or deconstructing down. One can interpret it that way also. The fourth is north-south conflict. Here Rama, Lakshman, and Sita are one can interpret as a colonizers, and the tribal people of south as a colonized people. Why it is this? Because people Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita went to south, and they just overpowered all that. Sugriv, if you take the all other tribal people are there. They are very yes. Your
time is over. Can you wrap it up in 1
yes
minute?
yes I just give me a 2 minutes. I'll just conclude my point. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. Okay. So they are shown as the colonized people, and they are just doing what Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana are telling them, just the way we were doing when the Britishers colonized us. The next one is Hanuman as a Lakshman's savior. So Hanuman lifted the Sanjeevani from the local area, like from Himalaya, and the Sanjeevani or the mountain, the part of mountain which was lifted by Hanumana to save Lakshman while he fall unconscious during the battle. It was considered as the fatherly figure, or this mountain was considered as the fatherly figure for the tribal culture or tribal people. And so it is something to, like Hanuman, to save one person, Hanuman lifted someone's life or someone's we can say well-being, or someone's we can say the source of income or something to them, steal them. Then there is the sixth one is Rama's murderer. Rama is the murderer of Vali. This Rama don't have any personal grudges with Vali, though he killed him. One can interpret it like this also, that he needs Sugriva's help to find in Sita, and if he doesn't killed Vali, if he didn't killed Vali, then then Sugriva didn't able to help him. So he just killed for his own self, and this selfish there we find some kind of selfish behavior if we interpret it according to cultural study. Then there is a Rama fell as a good husband and a father also, as he just organized order of Sita. Then he did that, he sent his wife to forest also. Then ordeal of Sita raised a big question, that if Sita has to undergo the ordeal, why not Rama? They both are if we see, they both are separated from each other. They both don't know that what condition was there when they were not together. So if Rama is asking to have this ordeal from Sita, then why not Rama has to go on through this ordeal? Then okay, I'm concluding just by saying this, that same Cinderella is also like this. Cinderella is a kind of a passive victim, and then the stepmother and stepsisters of Cinderella is shown as we can say woman are woman's enemy. We have this proverb. So they are just we can say proving that this Cinderella story. And then again we will find that while this character of Prince Charming is shown as the source of ultimate happiness, for Cinderella, that is showing that a woman, if she needs to get out of trauma or need happiness, then they need a perfect partner or perfect we can say suitor. Again we will seeing that the concept of marriage is also that Cinderella's ultimate goal is to get married, and she is just she is finding for the prince. So again we'll find that in our society also we find that many a time there is the goal of marriage is always in the center in a life of woman. So this is also it is showing. Thank you. This is my citation. Okay, just a second. I'm just stop sharing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, thanks to all the presenters. Before moving forward, we would like to extend our gratitude to our chairperson, Dr. Anjali Singh, with a little memento. They were really good. Thank you so much.
So can we have a photo?